Hey guys, oh my god, welcome to my YouTube channel. I always get so excited to talk to you guys, and if you're like, your background look a little different today, it do, because I'm at work. This is deadass how dedicated I am, okay? My freaking camera ran out of storage, so I really had to think fast, and it ran out of storage yesterday. I shot a whole story time. It was a mermaid encounter, and it was supposed to be like a 40-minute video. I shot it on Friday, and yesterday, from Friday to yesterday, trying to get it onto my iPod, it's not working. It's not downloading. Apparently, I ran out of storage on my camera, and I need memory space to be able to do anything. So at that point, I said, forget that story. What I'm gonna do is today, I'm just gonna have to work extra hard, because I do promise you guys a post every Sunday at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to make sure that I am keeping up with my promise. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to work on a way to give y'all like 2 stories a week, 2 hours a week, really. But I'll figure it out. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out for y'all though. Like, maybe if I do, maybe you guys can help me figure out some ideas. Maybe I could post like a shorter video and then a longer video. So like post like a video that's maybe like 30 minutes long, and then every Sunday post like an hour-long videos. Or perhaps I could do reaction Sundays, and then also you guys, please let me know if you guys were enjoying reaction Sundays, because I actually do want to bring that back, but I don't know if you guys would enjoy reaction Sundays. So let me know in the comments down below, okay? I'm putting together like a compilation of videos of spooky stories that I received throughout the week, and some of them you guys haven't, well, most of them you guys have not seen before, because a lot of them I actually got up and recorded them today so I could have a video long enough for you guys, because I already know how you guys get. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please, 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 if you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I know sometimes you guys watch but you don't subscribe, but it really does help. Everybody helps, okay? So please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, just so that, you know, I know like you're a supporter of mine, okay? I'm coming out with merch really, really soon, and I know some of you guys have been I've been asking for the merch. I'm just trying to find like the best way to do it, because a lot of you guys are also international. So I'm just trying to find the easiest way and the best way to do it that is also affordable for everybody, right? But as soon as I figure it out, like, I'm giving myself the deadline until April to actually do merch for you guys. So you guys be on the lookout for merch. If you guys support your homegirl, I know you're going to be excited for that, and I know you're going to support me. So I'm super excited to be doing this. I feel like I was feeling pretty down, but honestly, like, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I like that. I like having you guys in my corner. It feels good to have. Yes, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I really do. I worked really hard on it, and I shot most of the videos today. And yeah, enjoy. Bye. Do you believe in mermaid? Apparently, mermaid sightings are very common in South Africa. I am back with another spooky story. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Valerie. So this happened to her in December holiday of 2023. So Valerie, her mom, and grandma went to visit some family in the town near Val Dam, called Dennisville. If I butchered that, I'm sorry. But the town is literally right on the edge of the dam. And if you know about Val Dam, then you know it's infamous for mermaid and siren sightings. Water spirits will lure people in, and even spiritual initiations that would happen underwater. Especially for people who carry water spirits like Nadao or Nizuza. Again, sorry if I butchered those. So they arrive in Dennisville around noon, and you could see the dam clearly from the house. The moment they walked in, Valerie's aunt, her mom's sister, immediately warned her, do not go near that water. The auntie knew that Valerie was spiritually gifted, and that she does have water spirits, Nadao, as a part of her ancestral lineage. Valerie agreed with her auntie, no questions asked. But Valerie says that that night is when things started feeling weird. The room that she was staying in had a direct view of the dam. It was freezing cold, the type of cold that is bone deep, like it's chilling. Around 10 p.m., Valerie decides to sleep, and the strangest thing happened. She fell asleep instantly. That never happens to her, especially not in a new place. And much like Martin Luther King, Valerie had a dream. I'm so sorry. In the dream, Valerie was in the same bedroom looking out the window. And in this dream, she is staring at this dam. It was nighttime, just like in real life. And as she's staring out, she saw this old woman. It was this old woman in white clothing standing outside. And mind you, she was staring looking right at Valerie, intensely. Valerie recalls her gaze to be so powerful that it scared her. She started backing away from the window. As she does, it feels like the dam is zooming in on her. She says like how you zoom into a photo on your phone. It was so trippy. She panicked, ran into bed. She runs back into her bed, and that's when she officially woke up. So Valerie sat there confused, thinking, what was that? She walks over to the window, and this strange feeling of deja vu just hits her. She looks out, and there she was, the same old woman from her dream, staring at her again, giving her this intense look. But this time, this lady started humming a song. And it wasn't just humming. It was loud, as though the melody was echoing inside of her mind. Valerie says, next thing I know, I am walking out of the back door. She doesn't remember deciding to do so. And suddenly, against her will, she is outside standing by the dam. And the lady is right near the dam as well. The lady looks at Valerie and says, relax. Take my hand. Without hesitation, Valerie did. They began walking towards the water, and the whole time, Valerie's thinking, girl, I'm either astral projecting or this is some next level dream because no way this is real. Valerie said they reached a deep part of the dam pretty fast, way too fast. It felt like time did not exist. Then the lady told Valerie that she wanted her to meet some people. Valerie said okay. She then introduced her to these mermaids, these older people that she had never seen before. But weirdly, their energy felt familiar, like she knew these people somehow. Valerie recalls being in shock, but also feeling at peace. In that moment, it felt like all the stress and all the problems of her life had just vanished. So the lady told the mermaids to show Valerie around. Valerie recalls that the mermaid took her hand and swam incredibly fast. And before she knew it, they were in what looked like an underwater cave. The mermaid told her to take off her clothes and handed her a white dress with a matching head wrap. She helped her put on clear ancestral beads for her wrists, ankles, and neck. And then she said, "You're home." And Valerie says, and I'm not gonna lie, I felt it. It felt like home. Valerie says now she can't share everything that happened down there because there are spiritual rules. Some things are not meant for land dwellers to know. But what she can say is, while she was down there, she was being taught. She learned how to mix herbs, how to heal with water, how to mix spiritual concoctions. Every time she completed a teaching, she was given beads. Different colors like black and white, royal blue, plain white, white with blue stripes. Meanwhile, back on land, her family thought she was missing. At first, they said it had been about 6 to 8 hours. But soon, hours turned into days, and days turned into weeks that Valerie was missing. After 3 weeks, that's when the aunt figured and told Valerie's mom and grandma that she must have been taken for some form of spiritual initiation. She reminded them that, well, she does have the Nadal spirits and that something deeper might actually be going on. They ended up consulting a Sangoma/Nganga and the confirmation came. Indeed, she was going through an underwater initiation. The Sangoma told them not to panic and not to cry or to feel heartbroken because if they did, Valerie wouldn't return. So they followed the instructions, and according to Valerie's mom, Valerie was gone for about 3 to 4 months. So what started as a simple game of truth or dare turned into a demonic ritual by the end of the night. Someone almost got sold for R5,000. I don't know how to say South African money. I am back with another spooky story. You guessed it, this is yet another submission from South Africa. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Mel. Mel says that this happened to her boy best friend. Until this day, it still creeps her out. It was Friday night and they were all chilling at his uncle's house. Mel's best friend's uncle. They decided to play a casual game of truth or dare with his cousin. We're gonna call the cousin Mikey. At some point, the cousin invited one of his female friends over. And now here's the thing. Mikey's friend was openly satanic. She eventually arrived and the vibe was fun. At first. Mini party vibes, music playing, everything seemed cool in that moment. But then Mikey's friend dared them to play this spooky game. She told them that they were going to summon a demon. And everybody there all said no immediately. And she looked at everybody dead serious and said, if you don't do this dare, I'll make you all do the nasty, forcibly. And everybody there was shook. What a threat. Obviously, nobody wanted to go through that, so they all felt cornered. Now, they knew that this girl had the ability to make them do this because, again, the whole openly satanic thing. So they all decided to participate anyway. Maybe nothing will come from this. So the girl pulls out 5 black candles and started drawing a strange symbol on the floor. She placed the candles at each corner of the diagram with one right in the center. Then she started chanting, saying these strange, dark words. Out of nowhere, they all felt this cold breeze just sweep through the room. And mind you, no windows were even open. Now, both Mel and her best friend had matching cross necklaces. And suddenly, they felt this burning heat on their necks. Their necklaces were hot. The necklaces were searing into their skin. It was so bad that they both quickly took off the necklaces and stuffed them in their pockets. Next thing Mel knows, she blacked out. When she woke up, it was already the next afternoon. Something was off with her best friend. He was acting weird, distant, quiet, and cold. Mel says that same satanic girl showed up again, and she asked to take him for a walk. So without thinking anything of it, they let him go. And later they would find out the real reason for that walk. Come to find out, she was trying to sell him for $5,000. $5,000, however much that is. But the girl led her best friend to this man to, this is graphic, so I have to figure out a way to say this without getting this video taken down. The man was supposed to, and he wasn't supposed to have a tongue or a neck by the time the man was done. However, Mel's best friend fought back with everything he had in him. And somehow, by the grace of God, he managed to escape. And when he made it back to the crib, that's when he put everybody on to what he just went through. That one was definitely a scary one. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're not already, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can literally find the link at the top of my page. Y'all, we are super close to 8,000 followers on Instagram, so please make sure you follow me on Instagram. Just so that I know that it's real. Duh, like we're almost there. I say in every single video, I love you, my abducted human. Be on the lookout for merch as I will be dropping those very soon. I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. So this story is called The Demon at the Door. I am back with another spooky story. The person says you don't have to post this as anonymous if you don't want to. If you say anything about my hair, it's giving anti-black. Sanders says that she's been spiritually gifted for as long as she can remember. She dreamt of death and even witnessed it before it happened. She saw the unaliving of both her uncle and her grandmother in her dreams before they actually happened. But this story is different. When she was 23, she moved in with her biological mother. She lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with no furniture in the living room, so she shared a bed with her. One night, Sanders had one of her episodes of sleep paralysis, something that usually only happens when she's dreaming of somebody's death. But this time, it wasn't a dream. This time, she could move her head, so she turned towards the bedroom door, which they had left slightly open. And that's when she saw him, the demon. He was thin like a stick figure, covered in slime. He had sharp horns protruding from his head. Then she watched, completely paralyzed, as he climbed on top of her mother and started choking her. She tried to scream, she tried to move, she tried anything, but the paralysis held her down. She was forced to watch her choke, helplessly. And that same night, her biological mother, so her mother OD'd on her of choice. And Sanders said if she hadn't fought through that sleep paralysis and managed to call 911, she would have died. This one was a short one, but definitely a spooky one. I am back with another spooky story. When I was 15, following my mother's death, I moved to the US to live with my dad, his wife, and her 3 children. We are Christians, but with a unique aspect. Both my father and I experienced visions. One Saturday night, while sleeping, I had a peculiar dream. Typically, I can sense the presence of ghosts and demons, and this dream was no exception. It unfolded as follows. I found myself in our original house in Jamaica with the eldest daughter, whom we can call A1, and the youngest A2. The mother had named all 3 children with names starting with the letter A. So A1 was in the bathroom, engrossed in her iPad with headphones on. Meanwhile, A2 and I were in the living room, and a news bulletin had announced that a woman had escaped from a mental hospital and advised everyone to lock their doors. I got up to secure the back door, and I saw a woman outside wearing blue jeans, black and white sneakers, and a plain black top. She was light-skinned, but I couldn't see her face. She appeared to be checking if anyone was home, and she noticed that A2 and I were alone. Suddenly, my late mother appeared with a man, seemingly to check on us. I glanced at the sky and noticed that it was getting dark rapidly, which was alarming because it had been 2 p.m. when the news aired, and yet now it looked about 7 p.m. After her mother left, she rushed back to the back door and saw the woman there. The woman threw a dagger at me. I managed to dodge it just in time. I went and banged on the bathroom door, yelling at A1 to come out. At that moment, I woke up and I could not move. In a state of sleep paralysis, I envisioned the woman inside of our house, brutally attacking A2 and myself. My body shook violently, but I couldn't hear anything. When it finally ended, I tried calling my dad, but he didn't answer. His room was nearby and he never puts his phone on silent. So I should have heard it ringing. When my dad finally came, I told him everything and he prayed for us. The next day at church, I saw a woman we knew. And to my horror, she had the exact same build as the woman in the dream. And then I realized it was her. My face must have shown pure horror because my dad noticed and pulled me aside. I told him about the resemblance. From that day on, we never saw that woman again. I'm 16 now, turning 17 this year, and every time I talk or think about this experience, it gives me chills. However, I know my dad and God will always protect me wherever I go. I know that's right. Imagine the lady from church trying to unalive you and your family. Like, that's kind of wild. Y'all like me reading the stories in this perspective? I don't know. Let me know down below. Leave a comment. Anyway, make sure, please, you are subscribing to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. I say in every single video, I love you, my abducted humans, so much from the bottom of my heart, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. Do you believe that aliens exist and they're just out here abducting people? I am back with another spooky story. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Mason. So this took place in 2020 at Mason's house during the pandemic. Now, living in Nebraska, Mason says that he has seen them before. The hovering orbs, like they weren't planes, they weren't drones. They made no sound and just floated in the sky, like watching eyes. He was spotting them so often that he brought this up to his neighbor. And as he's telling this old man about, the orbs that he's been seeing in the sky, and his theory that those are not planes or orbs, like he's asking his neighbor, like, do you see them? Do you see those objects in the sky? And the neighbor just looks back at him and says, they see you too. That particular night, the lights were back. Mason stood on his porch watching the lights flicker, and it seemed like they were flickering in like rhythm, almost like he was watching a light show. So as he's standing there staring at the lights, he notices that the lights start coming closer and closer and closer. Now, at this point, the lights are closer than ever before. So as the lights are getting closer, he notices that the trees and everything around him are just going crazy, as if there's like this strong wind. Then he started to hear the sound. It was like a hum, and it was vibrating through the ground and through his bones and even inside of his skull. Mason, being shook and a little scared, turns around to run inside. But the moment he moved, his body stopped. His limbs stiffened as if the man was trapped in invisible chains. His fingers are twitching, his jaw is clenched, but the man could not move. He says that the light just kept coming closer and closer until it swallowed him whole. Next thing that Mason knows is he's waking up on his back, staring at a ceiling, except it wasn't a ceiling at all. It was like this endless void, and the best way he could describe it is liquid darkness. He was trapped to a metal table, completely naked, and he's noticing shapes moving all around him. When he spots these creatures, tall, thin, arms way too long. He described their faces to be smooth, almost like human faces, but all wrong, too symmetrical. And he said that it did have the big glossy black eyes. They did not speak. However, he could hear them in his mind. He says it sounds like an echo. As he's looking around, he hears, this one is awake. Mason is trying to scream, but nothing is coming out. And he says that his throat is burning as if something had been shoved down his throat. He tried to move, but his body was paralyzed again. And Mason says, now this is gonna sound ridiculous, but his skin peeled itself open. No blades were used, no hands, no nothing. It's like an invisible force just split him open on a table. Now, Mason says that this was so traumatic for him because he was witnessing his own violation. His vision was blurred, but not from pain. He actually didn't experience much pain, but something else, something thick that was like ink, began to drip into his open torso. It was something alive. It moved between his organs, wrapping around his lungs. He says the beings watched in silence, and whatever the black moving creatures were merging with him. He could feel them in his bloodstream, under his skin, and inside of his skull. And then he realized they weren't dissecting him, they were changing him. So when it was all done, Mason catches a glimpse of himself, and he notices that he was still human. However, his eyes looked abnormally dark, just like the creatures around him. But then boom, Jason wakes up in his bed, gasping for air. His shirt is soaked in sweat, and then he realizes, oh, that was a dream. Just a dream. He lets out this nervous laughter like, okay, that was a dream. He was home, everything was normal, and he tries to get up when he realizes that his ribs and his stomach were hurting. And when he pulled up his shirt, he notices cuts on his body, perfectly healed incisions from his chest to his abdomen, and his ears just started ringing. And just like in the dream, how he was hearing the voices in his head like an echo, he heard the same voice saying, "You are now ready." Mason says he went on to live the strangest life ever. He now has these abilities that he didn't have before. Mason says that he's been to mental hospitals multiple times because of this. However, he just came to acceptance because he now has these abilities that he just did not have before. Thank you for submitting this story. This was a little bit different. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit them to me either on my TikTok or my Instagram DM. If you haven't already, please be sure to follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for better, longer, and spookier stories. I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. She wasn't supposed to die. At least that's what she told me 1 week after her funeral. She came to me in a dream begging for help. But what terrified me the most, I am back with another spooky story. And this one is yet another submission from South Africa. So the person who submitted this story is a 27-year-old spiritually gifted woman living in Johannesburg, South Africa. She says she doesn't know if what happened was because her friend trusted her or if it was just something else. But this is her story. So back in 2016, she befriended a girl. We're gonna call the girl Angie. They lived just 5 minutes away from each other and they became close. So we're gonna call the person who submitted the story Natalie. So Natalie and Angie became very close. In 2020, Angie got pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Life went on as usual until 2021. She was in matric, which is her final year of high school. Midway through the year, Angie started losing weight. Day by day, she became thinner. Just within 1 week, her condition became severe, and she was admitted to a hospital by Sunday. The following week, that Thursday, Angie unfortunately passes away. The doctor said it was blood cancer. Her death was devastating. But the strangest part came at her funeral. When Natalie went to go see her one last time in her coffin, she said that something felt wrong. Her skin was dark, like a greenish blue. Her eyes were half open, and she was unnaturally skinny, as if the life had just been sucked out of this girl. Literally. It just didn't feel like her, but as painful as things were, life had to move on. A week or two after the funeral, Natalie started having dreams about Angie. In the dreams, she kept saying that she wanted to talk to Natalie, but she wouldn't come out and say exactly what it is that she needed to tell her. Days passed like this. Natalie just kept feeling her presence. And one night, just before midnight, Natalie was lying in bed wide awake, scrolling on her phone when she suddenly heard a voice. "I want to talk to you." Natalie froze. She turned off her phone, closed her eyes, and listened. "I'm not dead," she said. "I'm in a dark room. They locked me inside. I want to go. Please help me." In the moment Angie said that she was in a dark room, Natalie was able to see it in her mind. Angie goes on to say, "They locked me inside." And Natalie was able to see the person who was responsible. It was a Vanda-speaking woman who lived directly opposite of her late friend's house. A woman was a Sangoma, but not a good one. She practiced dark magic. Her husband had been a taxi driver who was shot and unfortunately unalive at the taxi rank during a pew-pew fight between the taxi owners. While the shooting was happening, her husband had managed to hide completely unharmed, but then the gunman found him and ganged up on him and executed him with more than 10 bullets. So this Vanda woman was dangerous. Natalie says her late friend's final words to her were chilling. Angie said, "As I'm speaking to you right now, they know that you know the truth and they will come for you as well." The next day, she went straight to Angie's mother to tell her what happened. To her shock, she wasn't the only one that Angie had been reaching out to. Angela's little sister and a mutual friend of theirs were experiencing weird things too. Her sister once saw Angie walking down the street. When she tried to follow her, she disappeared into thin air. As much as Natalie wanted to help Angie, she knew that she wasn't spiritually strong enough to handle this. She begged her mother to seek help from an experienced spiritual leader, people who had the power and knowledge to intervene. In the end, Natalie says her fears were right. they did come for her. What followed was an intense spiritual battle between Natalie and them. If it weren't for her ancestors and God protecting her, she does not know what would have happened. Now she says her only wish is for Angie's mother to find the right help, that her friend can finally rest in peace. Right now, she's a lost soul, a zombie trapped between worlds. If only her ancestors could show her what to do next. Well, that was the end of that story. Thank you for submitting your stories. If you have a story that you want me to tell, please feel free to DM them to me either on TikTok or on my Instagram. And while you're there, follow me on Instagram though, just so that I know that it's real. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for longer, better, and spookier stories. The link is in my bio. I say this in every video. I love you, my abducted human. I'm your favorite Haitian homegirl. So this story is a journey through the darkness. I am back with another spooky story. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Melissa. It all began in 2001 when Melissa was just 5 years old and her younger brother was just 2 years old. Her father had an affair with another woman, leading to an increased abuse against the children. This woman would come to their house, be intimate with their father, and ignore the mother. This was all happening while the mother was still present. The mother herself was always too afraid to intervene. Over time, they started to notice that the mother's underwear started to disappear. So in 2002, the woman gave birth, and much to Melissa's grandmother's delight, as she had never approved of Melissa's mother, believing that she had taken her previous son away. Subsequently, Melissa's mother started falling ill, and strange occurrences plagued our homes whenever their father was absent. They heard footsteps outside. Mel once saw a huge gorilla-like figure running outside her window. At other times, a baby would be crying outside. By 2005, Melissa's father had met another woman, adding yet another layer of complexity. This new woman became Melissa's grandmother's favorite, and together they practiced dark magic, aiming to eliminate Melissa's mother. Their first target was Melissa's little brother. So in South Africa, it's customary to burn school books at the end of each year. They obtained her brother's books, and at the start of 2006, he began experiencing severe headaches. Whenever he opened a school book, there comes the headache. He would cry in agony when he was in class. They consulted various doctors, but no one could help. This torment lasted for about 5 months. In May, Melissa's uncle unfortunately passed away, and when they went to the grandparents' place for the funeral, one night, her mother saw her grandmother on the roof in the middle of the night while she was going to the toilet. What is grandma doing up on the roof? After that, Melissa's mother was never the same. She feared for her life because witnessing such things can lead to bad omen, because apparently you're not supposed to witness them, nor are you supposed to even talk about them. But Melissa's mother at that point realized that she had seen something significant. So during that week, everybody slept in the same room as the grandmother. One night, Melissa dreamt that her grandmother put a snake in her mother's private area, and we all just dismissed it as a dream. After the funeral, everybody returned home, but the first night back was unsettling. They heard footsteps approaching the house, but upon checking, no one was there. They heard someone bouncing a ball around the house, but again, they saw nothing. This became the new normal. Melissa's father worked in the mine and he was barely home, often also staying with one of his mistresses. So one night, Melissa's father comes home and he forces himself on Melissa's mother. Subsequently, he developed a large boil on his butt, and at this point, he was unable to work for some time. Melissa's mother cared for him, but the boil only grew larger. Meanwhile, her brother's headaches persisted, and her mother's health at the time started to deteriorate. So everybody in that house is catching a stray. The mother suddenly developed this phobia of snakes. She suffered from insomnia and had disturbing nightmares, leading her to the brink of insanity. Fast forward to 2008, her father's boil remained. At this point, it's been 2 good years with this boil. Whenever he was home, strange events occurred in the yard, and it was always starting around 9 p.m. They heard balls bouncing, they saw fire approaching the house, and they heard heavy footsteps on the roof, reminiscent of a gorilla. So it sounds like a gorilla is up there stomping the yard. At 11 p.m., an owl would hoot, prompting their dogs to bark. They recognized these signs of evil in their yard. Mel's brother, mother, and even herself experienced sleep paralysis whenever the father was home. None of them felt at ease. So everybody in the house is experiencing sleep paralysis whenever the father was home. Nobody was ever at ease whenever the father was home. So finally, Melissa's mother sought help from a priest who prayed for her and the brother. So he revealed that they intended to harm them, but God was protecting them all along. And then they found out that her little brother was actually the heir of the family. During the prayer, her mother started her menstrual cycle, symbolizing the expulsion of the snake. It was believed that the snake was actually meant to harm any man that Melissa's mother was intimate with. Fortunately, for other men out there, she remained loyal to her father, and he bore the consequences with the boil. Melissa says that her parents divorced in 2015, but her mother's fear of snakes persisted until last year when she dreamt of cooking 2 black snakes. The following day, they learned that their grandmother had fallen and till this day remains bedridden. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this story. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, please feel free to submit it to me either on my TikTok or my Instagram. And while you're at it, please follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. We're almost at 8,000 followers. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for longer, better, and spookier stories. The link is on the top of my page. Like I say in every single video, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. Before you do a love spell on that man, make sure you watch this video first. We're gonna call the person who submitted this story Julia. I am back with another spooky story. So like many others, Julia was scrolling through TikTok when she came across various love spells. Intrigued, she decided to try not just one, but multiple spells. A love spell, a binding spell, an obsession spell, and a third-party removal spell. The target of these spells was a co-worker named Juan, with whom Julia worked with at a warehouse. Julia says the first love spell took effect almost immediately. She noticed a change in Juan's demeanor. His eyes seemed different, and he expressed his love for her more intensely. As their relationship deepened, he decided to move in with Julia, and Julia herself agreed. Initially, everything was perfect. However, as time passed, Juan's behavior started becoming possessive. He couldn't bear to be without Julia, insisting on constant communication even during work hours. On their separate days off, Juan would wait outside for Julia. He would wait outside the workplace for hours. And that's when she realized that the obsession spell had taken hold. The third-party removal spell also appeared effective, as he wanted to be with her exclusively, moving in shortly after. No one caught Juan's eyes but Julia. Julia says his possessiveness escalated to the point where she couldn't even move or even use the bathroom without him accompanying her. And when Julia expressed that his behavior was overwhelming, he reacted violently. He pulled out a pew-pew on her. Initially, he threatened to do it to himself, but then he flipped the pew-pew on Julia, declaring that if he couldn't have Julia, then no one else could. Terrified, Julia pleaded him to stop, assuring him that she would never leave him. He made Julia promise to never leave him, and out of fear, Julia complied. Julia says despite of the danger, she stayed. And each time she would try to leave, he would threaten her with the pew-pew, reinforcing that she too was trapped. The abuse became physical. He would not only hit her, but he would often use the pew-pew as a means of intimidation. One day, while he was out, Julia came up with an escape plan. She called her mother for help, and during the call, he had unexpectedly returned. And he became immediately suspicious of her actions. You trying to leave, ho? She managed to convince him, though, that she wasn't planning anything. And eventually, he left again. And seizing the opportunity, Julia locked all the doors and waited for her mother to come. He returned once more. But this time, all the doors were locked, so he couldn't come in. He shouted threats, accusing her of trying to leave him, and he was making sure that she knew if you are trying to leave, it ain't gonna be so easy. When her mother finally arrived, she left with her mother and never looked back. She had to move out of the apartment and relocate for safety. Julia says, ironically, we worked together and he filed a restraining order against me. So he filed a restraining order against Julia, falsely claiming that she had threatened his life. When in reality, Julia says it was actually the opposite. She says she prayed to her ancestors, asking them to remove the spells that she had casted. Since then, she's continued practicing magic, but vowed never, ever, ever to do another love spell on another person. She says she learns that love spells rarely result in positive outcomes. Wow, Julia, thank you so much for submitting this story. Thank you so much for submitting the story. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, please feel free to submit it to me either on my TikTok DM or my Instagram. Please follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real, duh. And while you're at it, subscribe to my YouTube channel for longer, better, and spookier stories. Like I say in every single video, I love you by abducted humans from your favorite Haitian homegirl. Crystal was just 8 years old when she watched two shadowy figures walk into her bedroom and steal her favorite doll. They never saw it again. Until this day, her dad refuses to talk about it. But Crystal remembers everything and she's ready to tell her story. You might not want to watch this one at night, but buckle up because I am back with another spooky story. So Crystal was 8 years old, living in a 2-bedroom apartment with her younger sister and her parents. Crystal and her sister shared a bedroom. During that time, their grandfather was visiting from out of town, so they rearranged both bedrooms. So either Crystal or her sister would sleep in the parents' room so that way the grandfather could sleep in their room comfortably. This is important later, So prior to the grandfather's arrival, before the grandfather's arrival, the sister, the mom, all went to a thrift store. On the top shelf behind the register was a doll, unlike any other dolls that Crystal had ever seen before. And this wasn't your typical stiff Barbie doll, but this doll was larger, it seemed flexible, and it had tangled hair. Crystal says, thinking about it now as an adult, it wasn't all that cute. However, at the time, something about that doll just drew her in. She remembers just begging her mom over and over just to buy it for her. And it took a few visits to the store before her mother finally gave in. The moment Crystal got that doll, they were inseparable. They ate together, played together, slept together, even showered together, you name it. You name it. Sorry. Crystal says she had a connection with this doll, unlike any other inanimate object that she's ever had before. Even her father mentioned how unusual it was that Crystal was so attached to this doll. But the father figured it was just normal 8-year-old behavior. But one night, it was Crystal's turn to sleep in her parents' room. So for reference, upon entering, there was the parents' bed, a nightstand, and then their twin bed. So Crystal gets in the bed, and as she's trying to fall asleep with her doll, she happens to open her eyes and notices a dark figure standing by the door. And it wasn't your typical tall or thin one. This one was short and stubby. It's just standing there. In her 8-year-old mindset, she woke up her dad and said, he described the figure to her dad as a gorilla man standing by the door. He told her father turned on the light, and her father's like, there's nothing there, just go back to sleep. A couple minutes later, she opens her eyes again, and there it was, standing in the same spot. So again, she woke up she dad. This went on a few times throughout the night before her father got tired of it. At this point, the dad's tired of it. He's just like, do you just want to come sleep with us? So she did. And what better place to sleep than between your parents when you're scared, right? So Crystal's cuddled up in the middle of her parents, and after a few minutes, she slightly opened one eye, and that shadow figure popped up, standing right in front of her feet. Then she peeped a second one, walking into the room. And the way Crystal was laying on the bed, she had her arms around her father, and she was also holding the doll with that arm. So she's watching the second figure walk towards the first one. Then the first figure just began moving to the corner of the bed. Then closer and closer, it was inching toward her dad. At this point, Crystal can't move. It got so close to her arm, the one holding the doll, that she started feeling a tug. She tried to tighten her grip, but the tugging got stronger and stronger until the doll was snatched from her hand. Crystal just started screaming and crying. They took my doll! Her parents wake up and they're so confused, thinking that maybe she just dropped it. She got up, turned on the light. The dad looked on the floor, under the bed, no doll. Started moving the sheets, no doll. At this point, the mom said, seriously, where's her doll? She had that thing in her hand a second ago. Crystal explains to her parents what happened. The parents proceeded on moving the covers, moving the bed around. They removed the covers, looked under the nightstand everywhere, and that doll was nowhere to be found. Till this day, they never saw that doll again. Ever. So, what are those two short, stubby shadow figures? And why would they take her doll? And Crystal is wondering if her strange attachment to that doll had anything to do with it. Crystal says her time with the doll was short-lived. She only had her for a few days. Her father and her talk about this once in a blue moon. It still creeps him out so much that he immediately tells her to shut up and walk away. He's massaging the goosebumps on his arm. Sending you all the vibes, positive energy, plus the big hug. Thank you, Crystal. And I will be tagging Crystal down below because she doesn't want to be anonymous. So this one was a good one. Thank you, Crystal, for submitting this story. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to DM it to me on Instagram or on TikTok. And seriously, if you have not already, make sure you follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to get to 10,000 followers, so please. Just so that I know that it's real, duh. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for longer, better, and spookier stories. If you look up Rebecca's Journey on YouTube, I'm gonna come up, I swear. Or else the links are directly at the top of my page. Like I say in every single video, I love you, my abducted human. Your favorite Haitian homegirl. I saw a video that popped up on my FYP. It was talking about hexing government officials. Y'all piss me off. I mean, I don't have all the knowledge on witchcraft. I know a little bit about voodoo. And I don't know who needs to hear this. You can't do magic on a complete stranger that has never given you their energy. I mean, I guess you can do it. It's just not gonna work. Because your magic cannot affect someone who isn't vulnerable to you. If that person never opened their energy to you, you don't have a passageway to fuck with them. People are doing all these different stitches saying, you don't think these government officials are like highly protected because they didn't think this was coming? Well, yes, they are. They might be. But not every celebrity or political figure is. Some of them don't believe in that stuff. You know how many powerful witches that exist in this world? Voodoo priests that exist? If that was the case, every bad public political figure would be gone. But you kind of can't just do voodoo on Trump. You've never met him a day in your life. He doesn't even know you exist. Energetically, there's no connection. So how you gonna hex him? If that was the case, if it was that easy, a lot of public figures would not be alive right now. So put down the candles. I don't know, sitting in your house, mixing herbs and lighting a candle on top of a random celebrity or political public figure's picture, thinking you're doing something. You're not doing shit. It didn't not reach them simply because they're so divinely protected. You don't know them. You don't have energetic access to them. Anyway, though, I hope that helps. From your favorite Haitian homegirl. This photographer had one of the spookiest experiences in Louisiana. He says, you ever seen something that shouldn't exist? I am back with another spooky story. So in 2017, Michael, who's a photographer, was working on a documentary about abandoned places in Louisiana. So he'd been driving down this old highway on Baton Rouge when suddenly his GPS just started going crazy. The signal was flickering in between coordinates that just didn't make sense. And then his car just dies, just like that. And he had no service, no way to call for help, so Michael just started walking. And he says that's when he saw the town. Michael says it wasn't on any map and it definitely shouldn't have been there. He said he saw these small wooden houses. The windows were dark and empty, gas lamps that were flickering. Even though there were no power line, Michael says that this whole place just felt wrong. Too quiet, like it was something waiting. Then Michael saw them, the people. He said that they were dressed in old-fashioned clothes, the kind that you'd see in history books. He says long dresses, suspenders, top hats, but their faces were blank. No expressions, just blank. He says these people's facial expressions is giving robotic. So Michael then turns to leave. However, the road that he had just taken was gone. It mysteriously disappeared. And this is when someone approached him and says, "You're not supposed to be here." And as he's looking around, he notices this big mansion. It was this mansion that was sitting at the edge of town that looked like it had been rotting for centuries. The windows were boarded up, but Michael says that he could just feel that there was something inside. And whatever it was watching. Michael says he walks closer to the mansion, and that's when he saw it. He says in the second floor window was his reflection. Michael says his reflection, but not quite. It looks like him, but the eyes were black and his teeth were too sharp, and it was smiling. When suddenly Michael hears a voice saying, "He's waiting for you." I know you guys hate part 2s, but I'm gonna have to because I have to get to work. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit it to me on Instagram or TikTok. And before I go, can I just take a brief moment for the lips? Can we admire for a little bit? Oh, this is what I use to line my lips. And you get a variety of different colors too. I was using like the darkest one that they have, like the darkest brown. And as you can see, and for every video, I'm gonna try a new lip liner. I'm gonna just link these in the video just in case you want it. You could just click it and put it in your cart, girl. Anyway, like I said, every single video, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. Y'all was dragging me in the comments. What is it, Baton Rouge? Like, god damn, y'all are strict around here. Anyway, part 2. But when Michael turns around and he sees this mansion, The mansion that looked like it had been rotting for centuries. And Michael could feel that there was something inside of that mansion watching. And then he saw him in the second floor window, his reflection, but not quite. And from behind, Michael hears a voice saying, he's waiting for you. So in that moment, Michael just took off running. He said he didn't care where, he just ran. However, every street that he turned into led him right back to the mansion. Michael says it really felt like the world changed. He says he looks up and the sky is like blood red. The houses look like they were decaying right in front of his eyes. And he's looking at these people and he notices that they're all laughing, except they did not have mouths. So at this point, Michael is thinking, okay, maybe he's tripping. Maybe this is a nightmare that he just cannot wake up from. And all of a sudden, he hears a noise, so he turns to look. It was the mansion door. The door had swung wide open. And Michael says he could not stop himself. Almost like he was in a trance, he walked inside the mansion. He said there was a hallway full of mirrors, and it seemed like each mirror had a different version of himself. He said the most terrifying stuff I've ever seen, seriously. Some had their mouths sewn shut, some had empty sockets where their eyes should be, and some looked just like him. But they had this weird, sinister smile. And then he said one stepped out, and he looked like him, but he wasn't him. The man looks at him and says, I've been waiting. You're the one who doesn't belong. Then he lunged towards Michael. Michael says he doesn't know how he fought back. He just remembers grabbing a sharp broken mirror in the tussle. And that part might be a little too graphic for TikTok. But he had a broken mirror in his hand and you go figure what he did. And he says to his surprise after he did it, the man didn't bleed. The man just cracked like glass. And as he gets up to run, he's hearing this sound of like this earthquake. And when he's looking back, it seems like that town was literally shattering. So he kept running and he says, next thing I knew. Michael says next thing he knew, he was standing back on the side of the road, right where his car had broken down. Except only now, his car was working perfectly fine. Michael says he dashed up out of there and never looked back. And he says, but sometimes late at night, when he looks in the mirror, he sees him. That guy, still smiling as if he is waiting for him. Michael says it took him a long time to open up and talk about this because he still does not know what happened till this day. Though this happened in 2017 and it is now 2025, Michael says he doesn't even drive in that area. He just avoids it altogether. His friends wonder why he's become a weirdo because he covers every single mirror, terrified that he might just see that guy again. He says submitting the story was a way for him to remove some of that power. There is so much more to the world than we think. Thank you for submitting that story, Michael. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, please feel free to DM it to me either on Instagram or right here on TikTok. If you're not already, please be sure to follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. We are so close to 8,000 followers, so please, I just need 90 more of y'all to go follow me on Instagram. The link is on the top of my page, and while you're there, you're gonna see my YouTube. For better, longer, and spookier stories, you're gonna subscribe to my YouTube channel. Anyway, like I say in every single video, I love you, my abducted humans. Your favorite Haitian homegirl. Oh, and if you said anything about my hair, it's giving anti-black. This story is about a man who predicted his own death. I am back with another spooky story. And this one is a submission from Haiti. The person who submitted the story said, this is a creepy story that happened to me in Haiti back in 2008. It's about one of my dad's childhood friends. His name, for the privacy of the story, let's call him Kevin. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story itself Alex. So Kevin grew up with Alex's dad, but after moving somewhere in Asia, he got mixed up with the wrong crowd. He was arrested and spent 18 years in prison. In 2008, he was released and returned to Haiti. He reconnected with Alex's dad and he would visit them pretty often. The family always welcomed Kevin with open arms. Alex describes Kevin to be funny, intelligent, and extremely flirtatious with the ladies. Understandable after being locked up for so long. But Alex also notes that something about him was very strange. He would often zone out or stare blankly, almost as if his spirit wasn't there. Many times, Alex would catch him sitting there and staring at a wall, mouth half open, completely unaware of his surroundings. So one Wednesday night, after coming home from a church prayer service with his mom, Alex found Kevin sitting on the balcony, again doing the infamous blank stare. But this time though, he turned and looked directly at Alex. So Alex asked, "Are you okay?" After a few seconds, he seemed to come back to himself and replied, "I get these visions sometimes and they're really hard to understand." So Alex asked, Is that why you zone out sometimes? He nodded, yeah. And then he went on to say, Kevin goes on to tell Alex, right now, I see you playing the piano, and the number 7 is on your head. Intrigued, Alex pressed further. What does that mean? Kevin says, I don't know. He paused, then continued. Sometimes these visions get really scary. Right before you came home from church tonight, I saw myself in a green room. This is important. I heard a loud train and went to the window to see what was happening. Then everything went dark. So Alex is like, that's weird, trying to brush it off because he was more focused on what he had said about him, about the piano, the number 7 on his head. So he's thinking, oh shit, in 7 years, I'm gonna become a great pianist. This has to be what that means. So Alex goes and begs his parents for a piano. But as it turned out, Alex was wrong. Fast forward 2 years later, January 12th, 2010. Alex had gotten home from school getting ready to watch his favorite telenovela. He grabbed his piano, placed it on his lap, and started playing while the TV was on in the background. When suddenly he noticed that the TV shaking back and forth. Then the plates, then the windows started trembling. He panicked and ran outside and he just kept running. This was Alex's first time experiencing an earthquake. And he had no idea how long it would last. Thankfully, they were in Lekki, IT, where there wasn't much damage. Alex describes it to feeling like being on a boat during rough seas. Later that night, Alex's family heard news about Port-au-Prince. They had lost contact with majority of their family members living there. Alex said that felt like the longest night of his life. The next day, his dad decided to drive to the capital to help bring some people back to safety. When Alex's father returned, he had devastating news. They had lost 2 family members and a family friend. Kevin was the family friend who passed away. His dad told him what happened. This is heartbreaking. Kevin had been talking with his friend in his room when they heard a weird sound before the earthquake, which is why Haitians call earthquake gudu gudu. Kevin, hearing the noise, Kevin is wondering, are those bulldozers working in the neighborhood? He then walked to his window to look outside. His friend that he was talking to, however, panicked and ran out the door. But as the friend fled, Kevin's room collapsed. Kevin did not make it. And as Alex's dad is explaining this, he suddenly remembered the vision that Kevin had told him about 2 years earlier. Remember how he heard a train, he went to his window, and everything went dark. And that's when Alex realized Kevin had predicted his own death. Alex says till this day, this memory remains. He will never forget that night. But anyways, he's still trying to figure out what the piano and the number 7 stuff means because he sucks at playing the piano. Wow, this was heartbreaking. Thank you for submitting this story. You know who you are. This story left me absolutely speechless. If you're not already, please be sure to follow me on YouTube for longer, better, spookier stories, for more dark and mysterious content. And of course, make sure you follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. Gonna get to 10K, y'all, and we don't know what's gonna happen to this app, so y'all better go follow me on my other platforms because the spooky stories is not gonna stop. Anyway, I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl. You know what? Being an influencer and being on the internet is not for the weak. Before we get into this video, can we get into the skin though, honey? Because this is no filter, purr. In this video, I'm going to be reacting to some of my hate comments. Like Jimmy Kimmel used to have celebrities react to their hate comments. I do want to preface this video by saying that I do get a lot of love in my videos, okay? I had to literally scroll to find these. Without further ado, let's get into these comments. Somebody says, don't use South Africa to trend because that sucks. Use your Disneyland and leave us in peace. AWSD said, don't be delusional. Damn. Men aren't succubus. It's probably you. Somebody wanted me to know that my hairstyle was alarming in that video, so thank you for telling me. Alarming is crazy. Funny how Americans jump on social media and television and claim to know other countries. Grow up, sister. Miss, whatever your name is, wants me to know that no one cares. So, thank you for telling me this. Stay home, no booby. Mazet said, stay where you are. We are Africans. Don't come. We don't need you. Do not come. I'm gonna come. Somebody wants me to know that I'm just ignorant, you know? I mean, there's worse things to be in this world. You didn't eat. Y'all need to eat. Aya said, shut the fuck up. Please. on my page is crazy. It's like you're on somebody's page telling them to shut the fuck up when you could just not be on that person's page because there's like millions of other creators. I don't know. The internet is interesting to me. Oh, these are majority of like the hate comments that I got. Oh, an honorable mention. Someone told me that I look like one of the demons from from La Kukai Job. I look like one of the demons from La Kukai Job. That one was a good one. I don't have the screenshot, but that at least it was creative. I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna leave a hate comment, make sure it's like creative. I don't know, like make me laugh a little bit. Like try to violate, try to cut my ass a little bit. Y'all just be mad. And also the reason why I can't take the internet too seriously is coming from the fact that I share the same internet with other people who have serious mental problems. This is also why I don't go back and forth with people on the internet. Like for all I know, you probably just got out of a straitjacket yesterday. Like I'm not arguing with you. Anyway, thank you for watching from your favorite Haitian homegirl.